Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Fatback 4 podcast for this Sunday night. It's a new look. Let's see how it goes. I'll probably break it between now and the end of the show, but that's how it goes. I'm Gav. With me, I have Grizz, I have Seany, and I have Phil. And tonight, we're going to have a look at Liverpool against Bilbao, and possibly forward to Osasuna tomorrow. We're going to have a little chat around Harvey Elliott, Andy Robertson, Norwich away, and I suppose we look at Klopp and we look at different bits and pieces as we go. Here we go, lads. Seany, how are you, my man?
Good, all good. I just want to clear up that I'm not actually banged up abroad. I'm back home, and I'm just back to the regular.
Banged up back home.
Yeah, it looks like I'm ascending up to the bleeding gates of St. Peter to have a chat room.
Looks like you're about 3 steps away from me.
No, it's all good. It's great to be back home in sunny Dublin, of course.
Yeah, it hasn't stopped raining for about a week, hasn't it?
No.
Oh, you brought it. You know the way they say, bring that bit of weather home with you when you're going on holiday?
Yeah.
You didn't.
I'll take it out of my suitcase tomorrow, I promise.
Well, look, we're glad to have you back in Dublin because it means then we can go drinking with you, which is cool. Grizz, how are you?
I'm all right. First, it's like making a debut on this new software. What's the word for it?
Software is the word, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little bit trying to get my bearings.
You don't have to do anything. You just do exactly what you do every other week.
I know, but
he's at the breaking. At the breaking himself. Look. Now he's back.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a bit nervous, but listen. I'm with some pros, so I'll be all right.
Okay.
They'll see me through.
I don't know who they are, but okay, if you believe that. Phil, how are you, my man?
A1 Sheridan. How are you?
I'm good.
I just figured out where all the comments are. I'm happy now. I can read them for the evening.
Okay.
I can't. Where's the comments?
Up in the right-hand side, up in the right-hand corner, there's like a little question mark or sort of bubble. And
do I press it?
All the comments. Yeah, press
Grizz, you shouldn't have told Grizz that he wasn't going to be able to cheat at competitions. Grizz is there for a while. He was snookered.
You see, this is what happens. This is what happens. This is what happens, right? When Grizz is asked numerous amount of times to come on, and any chance you can test this anytime. No, I will do it, and then just shows up on the night.
No, everything's under control now.
Okay,
everything's under control. Phil just told me that,
mm-hmm.
and thanks, Phil. I told you, just a bit of advice, and I'm ready to go.
Okay.
I've got the comments.
Okay. There you go, Grizz. I'm always here for you, bro.
So, lads, Liverpool against Athletic Club Bilbao, as they like to be called, today at Anfield, a 1-1 draw. Fans back in the ground, which was great to see. And Seany, after watching the game, I don't really take much notice of results and stuff like that, but just watching the way Liverpool play, particularly in the first half, they looked sharp, didn't they? A week out, like from the Premier League starting.
Yeah, very sharp, Gav, and you could see the added 10% that the crowd there gives, and look, that's something that's often thrown about, that it's a bit mythical and all, but we are definitely one of the sort of sides that feeds off that, you know what I mean? And you could see today there was an extra 10%. The press was there, and the intensity that was there from kick-off, and they looked very sharp in possession. And admittedly, I haven't seen much of pre-season this year. The first game I watched in the pre-season was during the week with Bologna, and even then I thought they were very, very sharp. So it's looking good. Results don't really matter. Hopefully Robertson's not too bad, which I don't think he will be. I think there's a lot of overreaction. Like, I think people were... I had fellas in WhatsApps diagnosing him after one replay. So, look, that's just the way the world at the moment is. I think he'll be all right.
Knows about that one replay.
It was just really good. Yeah. Out for the season after a replay. Didn't even see him slow down in real time. Like, people are mad. But look, Simicast is one who's really stood out in the pre-season. So it's time for him to shit or get off the pot if he's thrown in now. And look, I wouldn't have any reservations if he was thrown in now against Norwich. I'd probably just be wrapping him up in cotton wool and probably only giving him a half an hour tomorrow against Osasuna, because I think it's mad that we're playing another 90 minutes tomorrow. But look, that's pre-season, and that's just how it is at the moment. But yeah, just great to see a full Anfield again. Well, an almost full Anfield again. Makes a huge difference.
Mohammed Yogi wants to know if Phil would do him a favour and make his Sunday by opening the fridge. There you go, loads of milk in the fridge.
So milk and hell.
There you go, Phil. Like, just doing requests early doors. But Grizz, when the team I seen today, I think is fairly close to what we will see against Norwich on next Saturday evening. And when you look at them all together, like Salah's had a full pre-season, Mane as well. You've had players coming back. It's been fairly smooth. Thiago got a slight knock, but other than that, it's been good. Like, are you happy with what you've seen going into next week? Because we've seen pre-seasons where Liverpool have been poor, right up until the opening day, and then they just go and explode, and away they go. Like, is there anything to read into today? Are you happy with it?
Yeah, look, like Seany said, and I think most of us will agree, who gives a shit about the results? What you look for is like sort of a gradual increase in intensity, fitness levels, patterns of play. And I think we saw that, especially in that first 45 minutes. Of course, with the packed Anfield, it was fucking beautiful, wasn't it? It felt like a proper game of football. You couldn't hear the players shouting. Although I heard when they had a corner, I heard Virgil say, "Focus in." And that just got me going anyway. I got well horny when he said that, because that's what we missed. No, I did, because he said I heard him say "focus in," and when Virgil shouts like that, like it can make grown men quiver at the knees. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, the intensity, the pressing in that first half, because Bilbao, their manager is a fiery little so and so, and his team were up for it. You could tell.
Yeah.
They tried to pressurize us. They tried to put press on us, but we calmed them down. We had a dodgy opening 5-10 minutes, and then we really, like the old Liverpool at home, you could see it, and I missed it, and it was lovely to see. Yeah, and all the players, all the usual lads, you could see the intensity in their play. Mane, Jota died down a little bit, but we're going to come to speak about the main man himself, Salah. He hasn't scored in pre-season, but my God, does he look fit and sharp. And yeah, we're going to come and talk about the other individuals if you want in sort of isolation. But I thought the intensity and the fitness of the lads was there to see.
Yeah, I thought so. Like, Phil, I might as well open with this question to you. Did you watch the game? Genuine question.
I watched the first half.
That's all right.
Pre-season games with Klopp, it's irrelevant trying to take too much out of them. They're there to get fitness, and they're there to get pieces up. Sure, we're playing a game tomorrow, so it's very hard. I think the one bit for us to take away from it was to look at who potentially starts against Norwich. If you look at that side, he tends to go with the guys he's had longest in pre-season. We know that, but there's always one or two wild cards that are thrown in. I know we get on to talk to it. And I just wanted to get it. For me, the question mark still sits around the midfield. I looked at the front three. I thought they're flying. I think they're absolutely flying out the door. Jota looks so lively. It's so great to see a three who are just moving around all over the place, right? And then at the back, despite the rustiness that's there between Matip and Van Dijk, given how long they've been out for, like Matip's been out for more or less since the turn of the year, and Van Dijk was out from October last year. And you can see that, well, the security that's there for the two fullbacks to get on. Both fullbacks are able to push on, which they weren't able to do last season. So immediately it changes the way we play. So it's good to see those patterns of play re-emerge from what we are. Those long switches that were missing so much for last season, that Van Dijk instigates from the back and is able to do it because both Robertson and Trent are pushed so far on. Midfield's still a big question. I think Elliott was great from looking at him in terms of what we're seeing. I think he's done really well throughout the pre-season. I have big concerns if we have to rely on Milner to open the season, and that's not a slight on Milner. I just think at 38 or whatever age he is at this stage, like he is sort of a good squad player and a good option to have off your bench. But to start the league with the quality we already have in midfield, I think it's a bit despite the lack of training time they've had, I'd still prefer to see some of those lads in there. And then you've got the enigma that's Keita. He does really well for the goal. I thought for me, Keita's whole pre-season has been a decline as opposed to an incline. He starts off so well in the first initial pre-season games, and his performance levels for me have deteriorated as we've gone through the matches itself. And again, today he wasn't one of the strong. If you're to stack him and Elliott up I know we're going to talk about our choice for Norwich, but if you stack him and Elliott up, I'd have Elliott over him if I was going to play Milner and Fabinho. No, honest to God, Johnny, I'm straight up. I think
you don't like Keita. You don't.
Well, I want him to do well. I want him to do well, but I remove the hyperbole that's around him, and I'm just looking at a guy who every time he does one good thing, people are hugely to rush to it. But then you step back and you say, can you rely on him to impact or impose himself in a game? And he doesn't. He's good in the midfield that has players that impose himself in there. Outside of that, he never.
Well, he's imposed himself in this preseason, if you ask me, from what I've seen of him. He's doing stuff that I've never seen him do, which gives me a little bit of hope. Now, I'm not going to hang me hopes on him for the whole season, because we all know, look, we've been down this road before with Naby Keita, and I'm one of the people who wouldn't doubt his ability at all, but just his availability again. Look, this conversation we're having already, but I'm seeing him doing things that I'm not normally seeing him do. He's snapping into 50-50s. He's pressing the goalkeeper when they're getting the ball back. Like, he's doing stuff that I haven't seen him doing yet playing for Liverpool. Not since the very first preseason. And look, you can only give the fella the benefit of the doubt, because no matter how long it takes him to go, if he gets going this season, that's great for us. And if he doesn't, we won't rely on him anyway. But to say you'd have Elliott over him, I think it's a bit mad. I think when you're looking at the way pre-season has gone, Keita will probably be definitely one of the names on the tee sheet for Norwich. And that's because I only think that because I think the rest of the lads aren't fit. Like, you don't get me wrong. If Thiago has a full pre-season and Henderson has a full pre-season, maybe he doesn't play. You know what I mean? But you had to give him the benefit of the doubt here. And look, Keita may play Norwich and then not play again for another 5 or 6 weeks. And that will be the Naby Keita we know. But look, going on what we've seen in the last 2 or 3 games, we've seen stuff from Keita now that we haven't really seen before. And he does impose himself on games. I don't get the idea that he does nothing in the game when he has to. Well, he does. He commits players. He commits players. That's fair enough. But
I've seen Wijnaldum impose himself on games where we saw there's a game that Wijnaldum owned the game. Again, I'll go back to, I think if Keita is in there with Fabinho and a Henderson, he's going to look great. I think if he's in there and being asked to be the player that is the one that's driving it on, it just doesn't happen. And I'd have a big question mark over. Whereas when I looked at Elliott today, and it's not. I think Keita will start. I think the midfield is going to be Fabinho, Milner, and Keita that starts against.
Don't give it away. Don't give it away.
But I know, but I think it's straight. It's quite obvious.
Well, I think Keita's the first name in the midfield lineup. I think he's the first name on the list at the moment. Because of the fact that Henderson's not back, Thiago, Fabinho's just back. So I think he's the first name when it comes to midfield, and then he picks the other two around him. But of course, just my quick 2 pence. I know you probably want to move on from Keita.
No, I want to have a word on it as well.
Oh, okay. So my thing is, my struggle with him was running back. Now I know that seems the most basic thing, right? You think to yourself, what do you mean running back? But it's true because to me it seemed, without having the stats and everything to the eye test, it seemed he's very good at front foot pressing, but when he's turned or when the ball is gone, his tracking back or his speed of tracking back sometimes left me a bit, come on, Naby. But I've seen a different, and I agree with Seany, I've seen a different Naby, and I know it's pre-season and all that, but I have seen bits that he hasn't done before. Maybe this fitness guy, Avi says it brilliantly, his name, I'm not even going to fucking try to attempt it, right? It's some fitness bloke that we've got in almost specifically to make sure Naby is fit, stays fit. So look, let's give it a bash. We're not in a position to get rid of him and bring anyone in right now. So we gotta go with it.
I think we need to be on the fitness thing. It is what it is. There's no point in talking about it every week about Naby Keita's fitness. It may come up as an issue when we get 6, 10, 15, 20 games into the season. What I've noticed about Naby Keita is, and I think you're right, I think some things today in the game where Bilbao tried to break and he was chasing, he gave away an odd free kick, and I've no issue with that. Smart free kicks in the middle of the park, I've no problem with that. Take him down, reset, good, no problem. What I've noticed about him is that, and it's probably from my own kind of watching of him, I've gone into games I'm not bothered if Naby Keita beats 3 and 4 and, all this dynamism. I think you've seen him being a little bit more like a Liverpool midfielder that you're used to watching. And what I mean by that is he's kept it simple. He's moved up fast. He hasn't done anything over eccentric. He's got through his work, and I think he's been very, very good this pre-season. The fitness thing will always hang over him, but I think overall, looking at him as a pre-season, whatever 4 or 5 games he's played, I don't think he's done much wrong. I think he's being very good. Overall. But I think the biggest thing I've seen him is that he just looks like, that's what a Liverpool midfielder does. That's what a Liverpool midfielder does. He gets it, he gives it to the fullback, he gets it back, he moves it and stuff like that. He probably doesn't hold it as well as Wijnaldum, but nobody really does. But I think overall over pre-season, I think he's been fine. But the proof will be in the pudding. I think if Naby Keita stays fit, I think we've all said it. He's a massive asset to Liverpool if he stays fit. But also, I think he's, for me, finally starting to look like a player that Liverpool want to play in the midfield, and Liverpool have kind of tuned into the midfield a little bit. Now, I could be completely wrong. He could go and beat 3 players at the weekend and score and do nothing else, but that's just the way I've seen it. Seany, I want to come to you because one of the big things to come out of the game, unfortunately, has been the injury to Andy Robertson, right? So Andy Robertson on Instagram has said, "Your support today was amazing. Thank you for all the messages. I'm positive, but let's see what tomorrow brings." My heart was in my mouth, Seany, I'm going to be honest with you.
Look, I think, judging by Klopp's reaction in the pre-match and the post-match, and the fact Robertson walked off the pitch, and his message as well on Instagram would suggest to me that, look, he's going to be out for a couple of weeks and no more, I don't think. And the thing is, I think we play 2 or 3 league games and it's an international break anyway. So I don't think it's a massive... I can't see this being a 2 or 3 month job. That's just my initial feeling, because Klopp says he got back to the dressing room and he'd no pain and we'll just have to see how it is tomorrow. Now, it's all precautionary. Like, you know what I mean? If they thought it was really bad, he goes off on a stretcher today. They don't take any chances.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, so let's just say, Gav, and look, the fact of the matter is we have Tsimikas there now who was bought for this very reason. So he's got to step up now. And it's as simple as that. So let's see what tomorrow brings. And I'd be confident now in Tsimikas playing the 2 or 3 weeks, or 4 weeks maybe, that he's out. Because if you have a Virgil and Matip, you have leaders in the back there and Alisson there, you can get away with having those players. It's not like last year if Robertson was out and you're playing Reece Williams and Nat Phillips. Yeah, you're really struggling for leaders there. It's again another situation this season where we have our leaders back all over the pitch. So look, obviously Robertson will be a miss, but I'd be confident enough going forward with Tsimikas for the time that's needed.
Yeah, like you're right, Seany, what you're saying. Like when it happened, I seen his reaction immediately when he hit the ground. And then you could see a couple of players' reaction, Naby Keita in particular, and I thought, this could be bad, and Robertson doesn't usually stay down. And I thought, and then the stretcher, but then of course he does walk off, and he's positive and stuff like that, which that's great. And hopefully it is. You never know. He could just turn and go looking grand, but if it's 3 or 4 weeks, so be it. That's the way things go. But Phil, Tsimikas looks like he's the replacement there at left back, but not only bringing him in, but like watching that first half today, like Matip and Gomez are just fucking brilliant. Or Matip and VVD, sorry, they're just brilliant. Now I know it was an open game. Bilbao got in behind us a couple of times, but like your man Inaki Williams, is that his name? He tries to run Matip down the air right hand side, and Matip just literally puts him in the cop, takes the ball and runs away. How big is it to have the likes of them backfield? Because I thought today, more than any of the pre-season games, looking at them going, this is what it's all about, back to normality.
I could see the normal run from the 2 centre-backs in terms of how they play and what they do. I still see not massive, but big gaps in terms of their ability to read the game at the top pace, at the top levels that they have for us. But I think that's just minutes, and I think every team going in will have X amount of minutes under their belt, and they'll all take a while to get up to speed. Fingers crossed, Matip doesn't pick up an injury. We've said it here, Matip and Van Dijk. I heard Stephen Warnock on the television today go on about that Gomez would be his first choice beside Van Dijk. Sadly, lads, Klopp sees Matip and Van Dijk as his first choice centre backs, and always has. When the two of them have been fit, they're the two guys who go straight in. And the question is, can Konate break that to become the player alongside Van Dijk, or can Gomez force his way back in? I thought one of the Nigel Spackman made an interesting comment that he believes that they may hold Gomez back till the end of September or so, because the feeling seems to be that Gomez's injury, because it was spontaneous as opposed to an impact injury, has potentially the greater impact in terms of longer term for recovery and a slower recovery too. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I think, again, the idea that we've lost Robertson or lose Robertson for a couple of games, and who knows, Robertson is made of iron, brew and steel, so there's probably no way he's going to. He's probably fine. He's probably doing laps tonight around Anfield just to see how strong his ankle is. And I'd say, if he is missing, Tsimikas to me has probably been the standout performer of the pre-season in terms of what we were expecting to have and what he started to deliver on. Honest to God, look at any time I've seen him play in terms of what he's doing, he's been exactly what we want. And you could argue some of his crosses has been far more dangerous than Robertson has been over the last few months. And that's not a slight on what Andy Robertson has done or is for us, but it was great to see somebody else provide a really, really threatening delivery from the ball from the left-hand side. And again, you look at Robertson, you look at how many minutes he's played since he's come to the club, since he got into the side. And it's great to know that if he is out for a couple of games, we don't have this huge big worry about, well, who's going to step in? What type of emergency cover? Are we going to play Milner at left back and hopefully get away with it for the few games he's out? So to me, I'm not worried. I'm delighted. And with the two boys at centre back there to guide Tsimikas through, which he didn't have last season, I've absolutely no worries about going to the first league game of the season with that four.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I like the look of Tsimikas when I see him. I thought maybe a bit lightweight, but he seemed, especially when I watched him last pre-season, I thought he looked really sharp. He loved going forward. He tracked back well. Maybe a little bit lightweight, but this summer I think, and in this pre-season, I think he stepped it up a little bit. And I think, he was very unlucky last year with COVID and injuries and stuff like that. But I think he's more than able deputy. And I think with the midfielders that we have and the centre backs that we have back, I think it's okay to put Tsimikas in there and say, 3-4 league games. A bit like, remember Adrian for Allison, and we were like, look, we've enough players around there to protect them, if anything goes wrong. And I think, I'm not saying Tsimikas needs protection or protecting, but he's coming in like it would be literally like this. You are the first choice left back for the next 4 weeks. That's a different thing to last season when he was coming on for 20 as a left wing back or even a left midfielder sometimes. And I think with the players we have around it, it's absolutely brilliant. Grizz, Captain Sell the Boy says it's clear VVD is still not fit yet, but improving every game. I agree with that. He's not 100% match sharp yet. But it's great to see him, isn't it, Grizz? Like 20 minutes, I think 40 minutes, and then 70 minutes. It's building up all the time, and for me, like, he's back. I can't see anyone holding Gomez. Maybe we don't know. Konate's there, Matip's there, but I can't see him holding VVD back now. I think he's good to go.
Yeah, initially before today, I would have said no chance for. Well, not no chance for Norwich, but I would have said slim chance for Norwich. The way he's built up his time, and as you said, today he played 70 minutes. And I will say he was, shaky, call it what you want, rusty, whatever, because that's absolutely normal. He was, after being 9-10 months or whatever, nearly a year out. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be normal. But I don't know, Gav. I'm not sure if he. I think tomorrow will give a good indication. If Konate only plays 45 minutes, that might be an indication. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the rest of the guys think. It's a tricky one for me. Just having him there, as you said, makes a huge difference. He actually intimidates players. So even though if you try to attack VVD right now, you probably could run him or run over him because he's not as sharp as he could. There was a couple of times where, for example, the goal. A fit alert Virgil doesn't let that cross get in or that ball go across. Mm-hmm. He gets there in time to block it. That's absolutely normal, sorry. But just the aura of the lad. And just as I said, just for that corner, when I heard him say, focus in, like he just said it loudly, like clearly, and everyone just kind of focused. I think you're right. I think I tend to agree with you that now that the way he's building it up, you just don't hold back Virgil van Dijk. If there's an 80%, do you remember that argument we used to have? If there's an 80% Virgil van Dijk, you still play him over everyone
There's
else.
an argument to play him for 60 against Norwich, and if you're 2 or 3-0 up, you bring on a Kanate or a Matip or Gomez or whoever's left
Well,
out
look,
of that.
this is the position we're in now. Like, you look at last year when we were scraping together, boys, to play centre back. Like, we hopefully this doesn't turn out to a thing every week that who's going to partner Van Dijk. Like, it's horses for courses, and like Grizz said, he hit the nail on the head. An 80% Van Dijk is an 80% Van Dijk, and he goes in your 11. An 80% Van Dijk is in every 11 in the world. And just going quickly back to the fact that Tsimikas is coming in, the fact he's more of a like-for-like player than Andy Robertson would suggest that it won't hamper the balance of the team much, because he's not too dissimilar to the player that Robertson is. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, like, it's great that we're even able to have these conversations, because, look, the early talk in pre-season was that Gomez and Van Dijk wouldn't even be considered, that he wouldn't be part of pre-season squads. They were saying that he might only get a run out in the Bilbao game. Like, they were talking, the local journals were basically saying he might just play this game. But he played 60 minutes the other day against Bologna. He plays a full game, if I'm not mistaken. And then he plays the 70 today. So they will know exactly the threshold that Virgil has. And obviously he's rusty.
I think he's done 20. I think he's done 40-something against
Bologna, was it?
And then 70 today,
Yeah, so it's building, like, and it's like cycling a bike. You never lose it. And the big thing, if Virgil is not defensively sharp, that's not a massive worry to me, because that comes with game time. But it was great to see today that ability to zing the ball about and get us out just like that, and change the tempo of the game with his passing range. And it's funny, because you're looking at strikers now, and they wouldn't dare press Virgil pre-injury, but they're trying to do it now. You know what I mean? I wonder how long that'll last.
They're learning about a month's time. They're learning about a month's time. I want to move on to another.
But before you do move on to another thing,
you're going again. Go on.
No. Honestly, because me and you, because I want to bring up, especially with you here, right, as well, because me and you, we've had varying opinions of Joel Matip. Okay,
what a player.
Over the years. Seany,
class.
He's
different class.
He's fucking class.
Fully fit, he's the second. Fully fit, he's the second best centre back in the league for me.
No, he's so good. And I know Phil spoke about Naby and before in previous shows as well, in terms of fitness and weighing up, is he worth the risk and keeping him? There's a massive debate with Naby in terms of, is it worth keeping him? I've come round, Gav. I've swung full. Is it 180 degrees?
Yeah, 180. If you do 360, you're just back where you started.
Yeah. So 180. I've done a full 180, right? And I'm on the other side now, right?
Yeah.
And I think Matip's 12 to 15 games a season, right? I'll get slaughtered in the comments by some. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I think he's worth keeping for those 12 to 15 games, because when he plays those 12, 15 games, again, he's the best centre back, in my opinion, one of the best centre backs in the Premier League. He doesn't, even when he comes back, he's not rusty. He doesn't take time to get into the groove. He was fucking that Inaki Williams is a quick fucker.
Oh, he put him in the car.
I like him.
He just put him
and
in
he
the
tried to and he tried to take him on the outside or whatever. And Joel Matip just brushed him aside, kept up with him, and then brushed him aside. And his passing and his assuredness on the ball is. I love Joel Matip, Gav. Now I'm sorry, I don't know if you share the same opinion anymore. Have you done a 180?
No, I stand by the fact that Joel Matip is a brilliant centre back. I still stand by that he's not fit long enough. He might prove me wrong this season. I've no problem with the idea that you hold on to him because you're just comfortable with the 15 games a season. But the 15 games a season is only comfortable with who's left when he's out. And I think with who you have with Van Dijk and Gomez coming back from long-term injuries, and you have Kanate coming in, regardless of how good he is, he's coming into a new country, a new league. And I'd just still be a bit worried that, if a Van Dijk or Gomez gets injured and then Matip goes and gets himself injured, which he has done in the past, he has track record for it, who are you left with? And you're probably left with, if a Van Dijk goes, you're left with a Gomez that, okay, fine. You're left with a Kanate then that you don't know where his season's going to go. I think he's been very impressive. But that's where I have the problem with Matip, is that what he leaves behind him when he gets injured is what I'm worried about. And don't get me wrong, going into the start of last season, I'm fine with it because Van Dijk and Gomez didn't have them injuries. But now they have, and you can't get away from that. And I know you try to look forward and what happened last season won't happen again. But in the back of people's mind, you have to think 9 and 10 months out. You know, you have to think like that. And don't get me wrong, if Matip stays fit, I think he actually go and plays with Van Dijk before the other two. If he's fit, I genuinely believe that. But we'll have to wait and see. Yeah. But today, I thought he was brilliant. I really
20 games. You're getting 20 games out of Matip every season since we signed him, right? I think one season he did 34, 25. But you get
it's far less, Phil. It's less. It's less, Phil. His average is 12 and a half.
12 and a half games.
The half is the game he came off at.
12 and a half games. Fuck off, Grizz. 12 and a half games.
Yeah.
It's mental.
No way.
Yeah,
his average is 12 and a half games a season, yeah. So.
That's his average.
I'm going straight into the transfer market now.
Go ahead and look it up. While you do that,
Tier 1, lads. Tier 1.
While you do that, let's move on.
I'm actually going to text Matt and ask because he's the only one that I trust.
Because Matt knows everything.
Yeah.
But let's have a look at this. And it's a tweet I seen earlier with regards to Harvey Elliott, right?
Relax,
so the tweet reads, Harvey Elliott reminds me of a Jack Grealish type player. Think he has a lot to learn. His right foot has to improve, his decision making, etc. Which is fine. He's 18, but I'm completely convinced we have a superstar in the making. I can't wait to see him play competitively for us. And Seany, I'll come to you because he's been played in an 8 in this pre-season. You know, one of the midfield 3 rather than stuck out wide. And it's been interesting because Klopp has tried to get what he thinks is his front 3 on the pitch as much as possible. You know, get them on and get them playing and get them into a rhythm. And I was kind of looking on, Harvey Elliott in the midfield 3. But I think he's done really, really well. And then when he goes out wide later in the game, he nearly scores an absolute brilliant goal. But I agree with this guy, Lou. I think he's an absolute superstar in the making. He turns that full-back inside out. Your man must have been cross-eyed by the time he was finished with him. And he's so unlucky not to score. But he looks so mature for 18, Seany. He looks like he's willing to put the work in as well. He's not doing fancy stuff. And then when the ball goes the other side of him, he's not running back. He seems to be good in position. You know, he's not always looking to just attack. Like he was on a break in the first half. He got about 2/3 away of the pitch, and then he took a second, looked, and went, "Oh, hold on, let's slow it down and play." Like he looks like he has everything, Seany, at 18 years of age.
Yeah, like you said, when you see him in the midfield 3, you're kind of thinking, "What's Klopp trying to do here?" Because my initial thought to Harvey Elliott being involved this year was that you're literally just going to give him Shaq's role and Shaq's minutes. Like, he was literally just going to do exactly what Shaq does. And it appears it's anything but, because Klopp has trusted him in sort of an 8 role, and he's been really, really impressive. Now, Jack Grealish type player, I don't know whether I can see the comparison. Do you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Joe Cole when he played for Chelsea. He reminds me of that. Just that little flighty little fella who occupies spaces there. Fullbacks don't know, should I be going in there? And centre halves don't know, should I be going in there? The midfielders aren't sure of, should I be tracking him? And like you say, Gav, he plays beyond his years because he takes the ball in there and turns today, and he has space to go. And what does he do? He sprays it 60 yards to the other side of the pitch and gets the switch on. Like, it's little things like that. With Harvey Elliott, and people go on saying, is he going to be quick enough to play in the Premier League? I don't. The physicality thing for me can go out the window, because he played a full season in the Championship, and the Championship is a more physical league than the Premier League. You're getting booted and you're getting kicked, and you're a winger or a wide player. You're playing in the midfield. The ball's going over your head a lot of the time in the Championship, and you're getting banged from the back, going up for headers and stuff like that. So you could see the way he buys fouls and how quick he gets away from players, that he's one of the type of player that has the 5 yards in his head and he knows what he's doing before he gets the ball. And that's completely different to anything that we have. And the fact that Klopp is deploying him in that role would suggest that he actually sees minutes there for him. And that's great for us. I think he has way more to benefit from hanging around with Liverpool now this year than going on another Premier League loan. But I think there's enough minutes there from Gav with all the competitions that we'll be playing in. And look, pre-season has been flying, and like you said, he does seem to have matured a little bit since he came in, because there was a little bit of stuff that was going on off the pitch, and the stupid haircut and stuff like that you could forgive him for having for being a kid, but he seems to be growing up fast. And then you see him leaving the pitch today, and taking off the boots and handing them off, and the stuff he says after the game. He says all the right things. And another thing is that he's not a local lad, but he's a Liverpool lad at heart. We knew that. Like, he plays for the badge. And another thing is that he's getting the minutes that you would have thought Curtis Jones would have been getting the midfield this year. So you have to look at that thinking, what's gone on there? Like, is Klopp has him ahead in the pecking order? It's hard to say because Curtis Jones was excellent for us last year. And look, long may it continue. I think it's a wild card to have on the team. I think the fact you could play him in the front three, we know now that he's able to go in there in the middle and look after the ball and take care of the ball and make the right decisions. I would have absolutely no problem with Harvey Elliott being a part of this squad this year. And again, he's only 18. And when you look at, there's so many talents now in England that one thing I'd say about English players nowadays is that they're not afraid to say, I'm up and I'm out of here. And so many clubs never took the gamble. Like, you look at Sancho when he was leaving Man City, nobody even thought about taking him. He went straight to Germany and he ripped it up, and then he's ended up 100 million back in England. I'm sure there are a handful of clubs that would snatch Harvey Elliott up, and I just hope he give him the chance, because this could be the difference between you paying 100 million for a lad who's at the going away, like that lad at PSV at the moment, Matty UK. He goes from Spurs. Nobody wants to take a chance on him. Now he's ripping it up in the Eredivisie, and there's going to be a big move for him down the line in a couple of years. So I hope he take the gamble with him, especially with Klopp at the helm. I'd have absolutely no problem with Harvey Elliott. From what I've seen so far, I've been very, very impressed.
Phil, always want to shoot down any optimism in the world at every given opportunity. The dream killer, as you're known in the chat. Harvey Elliott, you know, he's 18. He's gone on loan at Blackburn. He's done really, really well. Myself and Avi had an argument about this a couple of weeks back, where he reckoned another loan to the Premier League, and I was insistent that he stays at Liverpool and learns the standards and what's needed to become a Liverpool player. And being around this pre-season, it looks like he's learning, and he's learning fast. But do we have to put the brakes on a little bit with him, Phil? Do we have to say, look, he's 18, he's had a decent pre-season against certain opposition and certain standards of opposition, but the Premier League, when it arrives on Saturday, and you know, you play Norwich, you play Burnley, Chelsea as early on in the season, it might be games where he comes on as a sub and feels his way into the squad, I suppose.
I have to say, I think we don't have one elite youth player at all. So there's a lot of fucking hyperbole that's going on, and I'm only missing. For me, Elliott is Elliott. This bollocks about Grealish and fucking Wiltshire and Joe Cole. I mean, bollocks. They're shit players. The player
Joe Cole wasn't a shit player.
I remember
at Chelsea.
The ball. It was gick. But for me, the
player he really wasn't. He really wasn't. He wasn't.
The player I'd have him compare him to is Coutinho. That's what he looks like. You can play in the front three, can play as the attacking midfielder in this. And you just, that little sort of whip inside and then wrap his foot around. It just reminds me so much of Coutinho in terms of the way he's playing. And if we can develop him into a Coutinho-like player, he's going to be electric. My problem with Curtis Jones is, and this is because I can see a lot of comparison between the guys that are going on between Curtis Jones and himself, and who's ahead and who's not. The one bit that's always troubled me with Curtis Jones is he never, to me, has the X factor. You know that thing that makes you go, wow. Whereas Elliott, when I'm looking at him play, has that ability to make you go, wow. Right? Like that to me is. I looked at him today. I looked at him in terms of in the other preseason games, and I thought again he'd be the type of kid that would go out on loan and would really do well on loan at a Brighton or something like that and come back. But I'm all in with Seany. I think he's better off staying with us at this moment in time, because I think in between League Cup games, coming in against shit teams like Norwich and Spurs and Villa and all those fellas that are just going to put loads of players behind the ball. For me, Elliott is the type that you could throw in for 20, 25 minutes and is not afraid to have a go, has a cracking free kick and has a cracking shot on him. And again, he's not one-paced. It's, for me, you can see this. He has this burst. People get confused with pace over 20 yards, with pace over 2 yards, or pace over 1 yard, where it just takes you away from the player and creates 2 to 3 yards of space for you to operate in. the same way Thiago dominates a midfield. It's not about being the fastest player in the zone. It's having the fastest mind and the fastest ability to get away from the person you're around. And Elliott has that in abundance. I'm really excited about him. I'm genuinely excited about him. He's something that you love to see come true, and I really hope he blossoms into the players that he's going to be. To me, it was great watching him today up against a proper opposition as opposed to some of the oppositions that he played. Teams that are at the same level as the Premier League team, mid-table and lower table teams, and to see that he's able to do it, it's great to see him do it. And I'm delighted with it. And I know Seany doesn't like the fact that I don't rate Joe Cole, but Joe Cole was.
It's not that I don't like the fact. You just can't say Joe Cole wasn't a good footballer. He was a brilliant footballer at Chelsea.
I think he had 2 great seasons, and after that, he was very inconsistent at best, and lived off a reputation because he was English. Elliott will get this if he has it again. I look at Sancho gone to United, and I look at these. I think Sancho has elite traits. I think Bellingham is a better player that's at Dortmund at the moment, and I hope Elliott we don't get caught up in this spin of just because he's a very good young English player that all of a sudden they're talking about him being world class and stuff like that. I genuinely feel that we have a gem in Elliott, and I hope that we nurture him. And I trust the club to nurture him. I trust Klopp and I trust Linders to be able to nurture the talent through, because they've done it with Alexander-Arnold. They're doing it with Curtis Jones. I'd even say they've done really well with Reece Williams and Nathaniel Phillips. So to me, they're the right people to nurture this talent.
The super chat from Dinesh says Elliott needs to stay. Him playing with the front three, he will improve his game 100%. You need to play with world class players and learn. And Grizz, some in the chat are saying, look, let's not go overboard about this guy and overhype him. He's 18 years of age, and I fully agree where they're coming from. And I think they're, Seany was saying about he's getting minutes there that you think Curtis Jones will get, and I'm in agreement with him. I'm a bit surprised to see him in that shake-up of when he picks that team today rather than Curtis Jones being in there. You think Curtis Jones will be next in line to go into that midfield, but is it a case, Grizz, that he's looked at Harvey Elliott and went, you know what, I'm going to just throw him in at the deep end. I'm going to put, now we might not play against Norwich. Curtis Jones could play against Norwich, but could it be a case where he's just going to go, do you know what, I'm going to put him in a setting for the next 6 weeks. When he arrives from pre-season to the start of the season, he may not play, but I'm going to put him in a setting for 6 weeks and I'm going to throw it all at him and I'm going to see exactly what he's made of. Because we've seen in pre-seasons, Grizz, where players are on the fringe. Harry Wilson being one, scores today against Fulham for Fulham on his debut. But we've seen players where they come on and they get 20 minutes here and they're not playing in the right position and stuff. But he's literally went, I'm putting you in the midfield three every time and let's see what you've got. And then he'll make an actual assessment of him come the end of this week.
Yeah, look, we had a conversation about Elliott at the start of the window, and a lot of people are atting me in the chat and saying, has Grizz changed his mind? So I don't know. So my mind was that I think as a backup to the front three, if we're relying on Elliott, it won't have been a good summer, and I wouldn't be comfortable with him as a backup to the front three.
That's fair.
That was the statement. Yeah, we like statements. That was a statement at the time. As you say, suddenly, I don't think any of us, right? And you guys are great footballing minds. None of us saw Elliott being thrust into a number 8.
No.
Jurgen Klopp, just first game of the preseason and hasn't moved him since. In fact, he's been his go-to boy ahead of Curtis Jones, as you guys have said. So he's played with, is very importantly, he's played with what I think is going to be the front three with Jota, Mane, and Salah, and the midfield that he's picked Naby and Milner, and he hasn't changed from that. He's been a revelation for me. In terms of, I think this kid, the guys that you mentioned, guys, and I actually agree. Whoever said Jack Wilshere, I think he's got a lot of Jack Wilshere about him. But Jack Wilshere, Cole, and all these guys, it's been proven. It's not hearsay, it's not rumors. It's been proven that their careers went the wayside because they weren't professional enough overall. This guy's an absolute sponge. He soaks in everything you can see. Have you guys noticed his? Have you heard his last 2 interviews?
Yeah.
He talks like a fucking 25-year-old, a mature 25-year-old. Brilliant. But you know what, Seany? All this maturity, experience, his positional play. In fact, he looks strong to me as well. I think, Gav, you said he looks a bit lightweight, or you thought he might be a bit lightweight. He actually looks sturdy now, right? It's all, in my opinion, because of that 1 year in that championship, that fucking raw, hard championship where you get cloggers trying to clog you. They see a little 17-year-old and they're thinking, let's give him a boot up his ass in the first 20 minutes, set the tempo. He won't want it. He wanted it. Tony Mowbray is an old school, hardcore centre back. He knew this is the way he's going to learn, kind of thing. And I just think if there was no central midfielder coming in, lads, then I would say keep him because, wow, we see some potential in this position he's playing. I just don't see him with the central midfielder coming in. I just don't see him good enough at this stage to be a backup to the front three.
That's absolutely fine.
And not enough minutes in the central midfield if a central midfielder comes in, as I believe there will be. So that's my dilemma. I get the whole training with him, but I think he's 18. One more season again, and if the improvement is anything like the Blackburn year, I think a gem for 5-6 years.
Well, like what you said there, Grizz, he's a sponge. So for that reason, I wouldn't send him out to anywhere else because that's if you go to the championship, you can develop bad habits from playing with players who maybe have a lot of ability but don't really like. His
idol is Mo.
You heard the story about Mo pulling him at breakfast in Austria, saying, "What are you doing? How many slices of bread did you have?"
Spot on, yeah.
And Mo was like, "Don't eat bread." I mean, it's
Harvey Elliott with a slice pan under his arm on the way to the
like that sounds like a stew, but like that's huge, and that's about discipline. And this is about he'd be looking at Mo thinking, Mo has carved out a rock. He's carved out a rock.
Like
There's a
Chinese probe in between his six pack. There's a Chinese probe.
He's never injured. He's not slowing down. So he will literally see in that's what it takes. That's the level of discipline it takes to get to that level. And that's the level of professionalism. You hear players talking about Ronaldo all the time. Cristiano Ronaldo. For me, Mo is the exact same. He lives pure. You look at the shape of him. Look at he's never ever injured. He never injured. He plays 90 minutes every. He's just gone on and on and on and on. And
touching all the wood here, Sean. Touching all the wood here. We can't.
But forget about that. That's like everyone is shitting their bags because of what happened last year. Just chill out. Like I get that. There's a bit of PTSD going on because of last season, but for the very reason that Grizz said there, he's a sponge, so he should be kept around. Even if he plays less minutes than Dijk and Matip in 5 years for Liverpool, then I think it's vital that he hangs around because it's not a case now of him going to the championship to show that he's a good enough footballer because we know now he's a good enough footballer. That's it. We know now. So he should be left there.
Yeah, he should be on the same. He should be on the same trajectory from me within this squad as Curtis Jones. Curtis Jones wasn't sent out on loan. Curtis Jones was kept. Queeveen Kelleher was kept and shown exactly what the standards are and given the chance to meet them. Now he's gone out on loan. I don't see the benefit of another loan. He's good enough. You're dead right, Shawnee. I don't think you need to send him out. The only reason you send him out is for minutes and experience. But I think genuinely he'll get enough this season off Liverpool. He will get enough. I think if he's the sort that Klopp would be looking going, I'll play him in certain games, no doubt about it. I think he will. And I think it'll be a case of, and the classic, if we're 3-0 up with 20 to go, he's the first fella getting on the pitch. He's the first fella getting on because I can throw it at him. I think Klopp is testing him. I think, and Kevin Sullivan said it earlier, it's brilliant, or one of them said it earlier in the chat, it's brilliant management by Klopp. He knows Jones. He knows where he's at. And now he's just testing. And he's properly testing.
But I also think it's not a kick in the bollocks for Curtis Jones, but a little tickle, like, I think because there was some.
If you're not pulling your weight, you're going to end up at Aston Villa.
Yeah,
like you're playing for Liverpool, and that's the fucking.
Do you remember, guys?
That should be the levels. That should be the levels. Yeah. Look at the amount. Like Phil talked about all these great English talents. Look at the amount of them that Manchester United had coming through, and 90% of them ended up at Sunderland.
Yep.
And because if they went at it, there was someone there to come in and say, look, that's it. Like you said, Grizz, it's a fucking kick in the bollocks for Curtis Jones that if you're not putting it in harder and training, never mind a fully fledged senior professional, there's another 18-year-old there who's going to try to take your spot. So don't be worrying about the lads who are careered midfield, like seasoned midfielders. And competition, like iron sharpens iron, and it can only be a good thing for us.
Well, can I just suggest that there is a medium space here? We've got so many games between now and New Year's Day, right? That this kid's going to get loads of game time. If they decide then at that stage, say we're not in the League Cup at that point.
I don't think he will, guys. When the season starts, I don't think he will. That's just that's my only fear.
But Grizz, you've got League Cup matches that fall in weeks be outside of the Champions League games. You've got Champions League group games. If somebody had said to you this time last year that Reece Williams, and this was before Matip got injured and before Gomez injured, would get to run in some of the Champions League games, you'll be like, who? But he got the games because Klopp was impressed with him. And in my view,
do you remember, Gav? I didn't even know if.
Yeah, but everyone was talking about this stage last year.
Who's this?
Reece Williams, do you remember?
What?
I can't remember the incident. Sorry, Phil. We've stopped Phil's flow. Sorry, Gav. Sorry.
I don't know. Was it something I
done? Sorry, Gav. Just edit this bit out before we go and do the live.
Okay, no problem.
Just mark it there. We move on.
Just realised Gav was asleep. Gav was fucking asleep. Sorry, Gav, I woke you up. Sorry.
I don't know. I'm not asleep. I'm just trying to watch 14 different screens here. Go on.
Oh, come on. No, I just think that you can play. There's going to be enough games before Christmas for Elliott to get 8 to 10 games before Christmas, or game time in 8 to 10 games, and probably start 5 to 6 games. And that gives Klopp a big enough look at him to say, okay, is he ready to be an active part of this squad where I can rely on him and trust him? Because we know that trust is a huge thing for Klopp when it comes to the second half of the season in terms of who he's going to use and who he's not going to use. And if he isn't, and he feels that actually a loan would suit this isn't a Minamino loan. This is a loan that says, right, we send him to a Brighton, we send him to a Southampton, where he's going to get the game time in the same type of system that I want him to play in, and he's going to get to develop as a player, and we get the benefit over it, because I think he truly believes that this kid has massive potential and sees him as part of the future, if it's not part of the present. But I think what he's done in pre-season, he's forced himself into the reckoning for this team, and it isn't an automatic loan out as we would have all expected at the start of this campaign, in terms of seeing him as a Premiership loan.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair.
Last bit of social media that we're going to get to is just a tweet from David Lynch. And Michael Lee asked me to do the super chat go missing. No, mate, I held it back because I wanted to put it in here. He says, hi guys, Grizz, can we have an update on the Hendo contract announcement and any more transfer info, Sol, and a forward interest? Now, I've put it on the screen because David Lynch tweeted after the game, and a few others have it the same, very similar. He says, Klopp under the possibility of further adding to his squad. He says, I'm very happy with the squad. That doesn't mean we don't look at the market. We have a big squad and something might still happen before the end of the transfer window, but I can't say anything at the moment. Very on defensive, Grizz, that isn't it?
I don't think that is.
No, I think that's
telling. That's very telling.
Very bullish.
Klopp doesn't say this kind of thing when he's asked about transfers, guys. Do you remember last time, last couple of weeks? Yeah, last couple of weeks. Do you remember there was a similar statement, and we all knew what he meant? It's very similar. It's very similar. The people that are thinking that that's it, our business is done. What's that syndrome you said, Seany? Something.
Stockholm.
Yeah. No, because we're still, worried. Or
PTSD. Yeah.
That's the one. PST. That's the one. That's the syndrome.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. ADHD.
PS4.
Yeah. PS5. That's the 4K. One. That's the one. That's the one people have got. Because there's no, in my or any logical, rational Liverpool fans' mind, there's no doubt that we will bring at least a body in. It would be an absolute disaster in my opinion, in terms of not refreshing it. That's just my opinion. That doesn't mean our squad isn't good enough to mount a title challenge. For sure it is. But in terms of the planning ahead, it's vital in my opinion. And I think that statement from Klopp is a giveaway.
Seany, can I ask you, is the key words in this? We have a big squad, and something might still happen before the end of the transfer window. So he's basically telling you, lads, we've loads of players. We probably have too many. Is that the key words in that for you?
Yeah, he's saying he can't say anything in the moment because there's stuff ongoing.
Yeah,
and that's the way it is. because the stuff ongoing. That's what that is. He could have turned around and said, yeah, we have a huge squad, and at the moment, look, we don't need anything, but you never know, we might do something before the end. He said, I can't say anything at the moment because the stuff in the balance, the stuff ongoing. That's what I think. That's the way I feel about it. This is Groundhog Day. It's the exact same as last season. It's this stage last season. It was the same people whinging about players not coming in, and then out of nowhere we do Thiago and then we do Jota in the space of 48 hours. And Grizz, I don't think anything is worse. I just think it's a complete logistics thing again. I'd say they're just waiting. I'd say they're just waiting to dot the I's and cross T's on deals that it's got to do with the logistics of the squad. It's not got to do, we need to bring in 40 million to spend 60 million. It's absolutely got nothing to do with that.
I mean the reaction. I mean the reaction from certain sections of the fan base that you're referring to that were crying and bedwetting last season. The reason why it's worse and more pathetic is the fact they didn't fucking learn anything from last season.
Exactly. Look, and
like we've seen like how it happened, how it panned out, and then boom, boom, boom. 48 hours, there was 2 players brought in.
Yeah,
you know,
and
one I knew of, one I didn't. You know, and that's the way it goes.
Look across the board.
We'll do the same.
Look across the board. Like nobody has really done that. Now, Lukaku and Chelsea is starting. It's only starting to get going.
Mm-hmm.
It's only starting to get going because the longer this goes on, clubs will need to sell or need to buy, and that's when it's all going to trigger because they're not going to do it now because the later it goes on, prices will decrease because clubs need to get players out. And then again, people just need to relax. Look at the implications that an extra couple of million can make in a deal. Look, I don't want to get onto it and completely sidetrack the show, Gav, but Barcelona had to literally let go of their legacy player, their creator, a player who you could make the argument he's bigger than Barcelona. They had to let him go.
He was.
Yeah,
last decade.
They had to let him go. They had to let him go because of the state of football. Yeah, from the state of football at the moment. And they were throwing cash around like it was nothing. And I'm telling you now, the hammer's going to come down, and when it does, we'll be grand. We'll be sitting pretty. And the reason we'll be sitting pretty is because we've competent owners who know exactly what they're doing and making the right decisions at exactly the right time. And that's the way it is. Like, people just need to... I'm not going to tell what people need to do. I'm relaxed about the situation. The business will definitely get done. Judging by Klopp and his body language and all the things he's saying in post-match and pre-match, he knows it's all going to be done. So he's completely calm in this situation. There's still an eternity left in terms of business in a window. And it's going to be like dominoes, and they'll all just start falling. And that's the way it's going to work out.
3 weeks.
Can I just say on this, right? People just completely seem to ignore the Canate signing for the start, right? They ignore the fact that we spent 36 million, whatever it was, on a centre-back, that if you'd asked every single Liverpool fan at the end of the season,
why is that? Why is that? Why do they ignore that?
Because it was done in May before the Euros and all. Yeah. Like, if you sign Canate today, it'll be... If we signed Canate yesterday, there'd be fuckers moaning why he didn't play today. So they're never going to be happy. Do you get me? So you just need to let this go. I've no doubt in my mind that the two come in.
Johnny, can I just link one of your points? It's going back to, we know that Barcelona are in the shits. Even after Messi's gone, their wages to turnover ratio is now 95%. So 95% of all the money that Barcelona is making is still
giving out on wages.
They're giving out on wages. You can't run a club at that level, right? There's a fire sale at Barcelona. Inter Milan, their owners are bankrupt and they're trying to put the club into liquidation, and the club are trying to stave off having to go into liquidation, right? That's why even after Lukaku goes, Martinez is available and there's other players available there.
Barella, De Vrij, all of them.
We're talking about trying to offload lads that can't get minutes in our squad, right? And clubs are looking saying, well, before we actually go and fish for that Shaqiri or that Origi, let's just put our finger into this. There's 12 lads there in Barcelona that suddenly they're being cast off. They're quality players. Maybe we can have a go at them. There's Inter Milan. Maybe we can have a nibble at them. Manchester City are desperately trying to offload 8 or 9 players to make up the imaginary.
Real Madrid.
got the
Real Madrid still
in the same boat. All these players normally aren't available, but they're available this window. So when people are talking about our squad, I'd say Klopp is just sitting there going, well, worst case, I'm stuck with the squad that I have. That's the squad that can get. I know that can get 95 plus points in the Premiership. Right? This is the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right? This is what we're dealing with here. Best case, I'm able to get rid of 2 or 3 out of there, and I'll be able to bring in 1 or 2 who significantly improve, in my idea, the available talent that I have in that first 11. And if I don't, I'm still know that I've got a squad that's capable of challenging for the league. And if I do, then we're continuing to regenerate the way we always do, which is not wholesale, but marginal regeneration, which is the way you should do when you're at the top table.
You look at, Gav, for example, you look at West Ham, right? Their player of the year last year was Jesse Lingard, right? And you're thinking that's a deal that could have been sewn up on the last day of the season last year, all right? But West Ham now know United will be desperate to get him off their books. And if they ask for him now, it's probably 30 million or 40 million. They know if this goes on another few weeks, they might save themselves 5, 6, 7 million in the main and still bring him in. And they're not in a hurry to bring this fella in. But even though how good he was for them last year. So everyone, it's just get your ducks in a row, and when it's ready to go, you get them now. And that's just the thing about it. We're not just saying this based off opinions. We did the exact same thing last year. Yeah, we were told the whole summer, Thiago's it's not a goer. It's not something there where it's not inside Liverpool's. It's not what they do. It's not how that policy goes against that policy. Thiago will be on too much money. Liverpool are not interested. And then all of a sudden, when a player of his quality became available, the club just couldn't say no. Well, and then in the end of the same articles, that'll be the end of Liverpool's summer business. And then literally 4 hours later, Liverpool had agreed to deal with Wolverhampton Wanderers to sign Diogo Jota. And they were both in like that, like a flash, bang. People are getting hung up on the idea of getting deals done now quickly. That hasn't been the case with COVID because clubs need money. So they will make rash decisions late in the window. And Liverpool will be there to capitalise on the rash decisions. Well, that's the way.
I take all that. And, there is people in there saying, well, look, Canate should have been done in the last window or last summer. And
well, he didn't want to sell him to us.
Yeah, they didn't. But others are saying, what are we talking about Barcelona for? That doesn't justify us not signing players. I don't think.
Yeah, it does.
Well, look, I'm just letting you know what the chat says. I take everything on board that you said. In my opinion, I'll give my opinion, right? And I've said it from way out, and I stick by it. If Liverpool sign 2 players by the end of this transfer window, and those 2 players improve Liverpool, all the talk of we should have done this, we should have done that, we should have done this, we should have done that,
but
is mute.
It'll be it's parked on the shelf for 12 months, and it'll be the same story again next May.
Yeah, January.
Yeah, it will be. January. It will be. But the way I look at it, just my point of view, is that if Liverpool go and sign a midfielder and a forward, which I think the vast majority of people are in agreement that we do require for this squad,
absolutely,
there's no problem. There's no problem. A super chat from Ramirez says thoughts on Lautaro Martinez to Spurs. I think that's one Liverpool should have been all over if you're looking for a forward. But I don't know what's going on with Spurs. Spurs apparently have agreed a fee, according to some journals. Inter and his agent are saying he's not for sale. It's not happening. And then I've seen, well, they have to sell him. They're going bankrupt, and if they're selling Lukaku, and then I've seen that they're trying to sign Dzeko. I've seen all sorts of stuff. But look, all I'd say to people is, and people have every right to be, if they want to be annoyed over what's going on, that's fine. If you're cool about it, that's fine. But all I'd say to you, if I was sitting in front of you right now having a point with you, I'd say to you, well, look, the squad is really, really good. I think we'll add 2. And if we add 2, we're good. We're good to go. Sort of way. So we'll see what goes. I want to move on though. And I want to move on to just have a look. I just want to have a look forward to the weekend. A quick look forward to the weekend, right? And so this is the lineup we've kind of come up with for the weekend. So Alisson in goal against Norwich, obviously, 5:30 on Saturday. So you have Alisson in goal. You've Trent at right back, Matip VVD, Tsimikas I've put in instead of Robertson after the injury today. Fabinho, Keita, Milner, Mane, Jota, Salah. Grizz, would you disagree with anything in that lineup come Saturday at 4:30 when it's announced?
Yeah, I think the only dilemma, I don't know about the other lads. We didn't discuss it beforehand, but we discussed it on the pod at the start. Is the Matip, is the Virgil scenario? But I think it seems like we've come around to the thinking that, if he's 75, 80% fit, you throw him in there, you intimidate Norwich.
Who apparently,
Can't
by
get
the
out.
way, have had an awful pre-season due to injuries, COVID, all sorts of stuff going on there, which I didn't know about.
Well, I watched them bang Gillingham 5-0 in my homework, so I don't know where that one came from.
Well, somebody earlier on said that they're down to the bare bones because of COVID and injuries.
They
I
looked,
don't know how true that is.
well, in my homework that I've done for the show, they were fantastic. They blitzed Gillingham 5-0. That
Okay.
fella that Seany said looked, keep
Leave
an eye
alone.
on was fantastic. Yeah, he ran the game.
Someone's phone is very close to our microphone there, lads.
I don't. Yeah, whose is that? Not mine.
I don't know. Shawnee's sending slight text there.
I'm looking at
It's Billy. They've got Billy Gilmore on loan from Chelsea.
Yeah, they're in bits. Norwich are in bits.
We
Billy Gilmore, is that a player?
no,
Yeah.
no. Honestly, he's proper Roy of the Rover stuff.
Yeah, no, he's a good player.
If we think Elliott's good, Chelsea people absolutely rave about this guy, and he's a fucking little proper
he's deadly.
footballer. He's class.
Yeah, he's
But
very good.
yeah, look, I think that's going to be the team. I can't see Henderson starting. I can't see Thiago starting. That's the only other issues people may have. Say what you want about Milner, but he's come in handy every season since he was born, and he's coming in handy until the rest of them get up to speed. So yeah, unfortunate with Robbo, but Tsimikas has been brilliant. You can see how we've scouted a like for like the traits of a Robbo. He's fucking deadly going forward. Tenacious energy. COVID fucked him last season, but he looks on it this season.
Phil, anything in that lineup that you would change? I think that's maybe the lineup you gave me earlier, but is there anything in the meantime you thought, no, actually I'll go with something different?
The midfield is the only thing that concerns me. That's the only thing. You need Keita to learn how to defend behind him, and you need Milner to last for 60 odd minutes. Now it depends on what goes on tomorrow. The one thing about tomorrow night's match means that you could have some cats amongst pigeons depending on performances that go on. And I'm sure Curtis Jones is going to be well up for it to try push himself back into contention. I'd say whoever else plays in centre mid is really going to say, well, if Milner's in there, I might have a chance of getting a sniff or putting the nose in. But again, Milner's been the fittest person alive across the whole of pre-season. He always does every year. He's a freak for his age. I think it's a credit to him. Going back to Shawnee's thing, if you look at Milner and you look at how ripped he is, you look at Keita and you look at Salah and look at how ripped Salah is. I've never seen two men sculpted like that at all. And Milner for his age, knowing how tough it is being a man who's past the 40 bracket a good while back now at this stage, being able to stay in any shape from the age of 25 on is something else. So it's an absolute credit to James Milner. The only worry I have is a bit like what Real Madrid did. Without having pace, they just bypassed the players they felt wouldn't do the doggies. And you just hope that isn't the issue. But it's the first game of the season. Wouldn't be too worried about that. If we can't win with that 11 that's on the screen, then we've got an issue for the rest of the season because Fabinho and Keita should, if he continues on his form, he should deliver something in that game. Fabinho screens that defence and just frees up Tsimikas and Trent to just go and cause an absolute rampage down the width of that park. And then with Mane, Jota and Salah just running all over the shop, that in itself creates mayhem against Norwich. Just absolutely creates mayhem against Norwich. So I don't see any issue with that as a starting 11. I know everyone else, every mad person that's screaming for transfers and spending billions of euros on Mbappe and stuff will have a massive issue with that team. And you know yourself, once that team goes out, there'll be a massive issue with it. And then we win and we'll say that's all great and stuff like that and we'll move on.
Shawnee, that 11, are you good with it? Do anything different?
Yeah. I think that's the best available 11 going into next weekend. Based on pre-season and form and that, like the fact I'm with Grizz, I think the fact we've seen so much of Van Dijk in the last 2 games would suggest that he's going to be thrown in there. But if it was Kanate and Matip, you'd have no real issue, really, would you? Like, you'd have no worry. I don't know an awful lot about this Norwich team. I don't know whether this Norwich team are any different to the team that went down a couple of seasons ago. I don't know whether they're really nice on the eye, but like bit light at the back. I had a look there. It does look like that the squad is in bad shape due to for whatever reason. Like, they got battered by Newcastle 3-0 today in a pre-season friendly. So, look, like Phil says, that 11 should be capable of taking out Norwich on the opening day of any stage of the season, really. When you see that spine, when you see Alisson, Van Dijk, Matip, Fabinho, you're confident that once 2 out of the other 6 players on the pitch do their jobs, that you get the results you should get.
I'm just actually having the team in front of me there and then thinking, like, Kelleher's a good backup. You have Robertson to come back in. You have Kanate. You have Gomez. Right back is maybe a bit of an issue, lightweight there, because I don't want to see Gomez there. But then when you look at Thiago and Henderson in particular, to come back into that midfield, and then obviously
Jones, Bobby,
Ox and Jones are there, yeah. And then you have Firmino. You have got Elliott who's trying to get in there, and then I think if you add 2 to that, I don't think you can really argue going into the season. That's where I am with it. And I think when you actually put that in front of you on the screen and you read it, and then you go, who's missing them? Where would you put them beside
the only doubt?
Go on, Chris.
Go ahead, Chris.
The only doubt in my mind, and I think a lot of people would say, is the right back solution if Trent gets out. That's the only thing. Everything else is covered as much as you can without being a fucking run by a Norwich State and have 60 million squad players throughout your fucking team, right? Throughout the 17. You can't have 17, 50, 60 million pound players. So the Trent... Yeah, that's what I mean. But the Trent one is the only one. I just don't think Nico Williams... Oh, man, I hate saying... I just don't think he's
just
good enough.
Crazy, he's shy.
He's not good enough to be...
he's shy. I agree with you. I think he's shy.
But then I think, Seany, maybe we give him a chance because he hasn't played alongside the big boys.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
Etc. So maybe they want to give him a chance. I was very impressed, and I have been, by the left back Owen Beck. The understudies coming through. He looks an absolute diamond. But the Trent side does look a bit. Nico Williams, I don't know. I don't like the idea of Gomez there or Milner there. I just don't like that idea.
Well, look, we'll wait and see come Saturday, but I think it looks strong enough overall. Now, I'm going to look at 2 players. We're going to look at 2 players for the game on Saturday and how they might get on Saturday and the season, and then we're going to pick a player each to watch in the Premier League this season. Phil's made a huge show. Just a spoiler alert on that. But immense show. Seany, I'm going to come to you for this probably exclusively because I've never seen this. I don't even know who this guy is, and I've never seen him play. But this is Pierre-Lise Melou, who's a centre midfielder. There's a stats up on screen from 2021. Seany, I said to you, pick a Norwich player to, kind of preview looking forward to Saturday, and this is the guy you've come up with. Talk to me.
Yeah, he's an excellent type of midfield. Like, when I seen that he'd signed for Norwich, I was surprised because there was a lot of good players in that Nice team. Now, he's not young, he's 28. Like, he's played a lot of football for Nice in that first team, but I think he's perfect for the Premier League. He reminds me a bit of a Yohan Caboye when he was at Newcastle, that type of midfielder who could do a job for you going back, but he does have he's a range of passing. He's very good on the ball. He's quite strong. I think he's tailor-made for the Premier League. And when I seen he signed for Norwich, I was surprised because I was thinking he's probably a level above that. I think he could have been, even in a side like Brighton or even Newcastle, he would have done a job and then went on then to another level, because you need to remember when Caboye was at Newcastle, there were a couple of teams trying to nip him from, because he was performing really well in the Premier League. So I think it's smart business by Norwich, and they got the other lad from Werder Bremen as well, Rashidja, like who we'd been linked with for years. So they've done good business this year, but I don't know whether they've changed their style enough to be that worried about. Like, I think it's going to be, they're going to look great in some games and then they're going to get banged by big scores by the big boys again. Pretty much how it was now. And I rate Fark as a coach. I think he's really good. And I like the way Norwich are run, because when they first came up, the chairman basically said, look, we're 2 years ahead of our plan. Like, we didn't plan and get into the Premier League for another 2 seasons. We just happened to do it. So if we go down, we're okay with that. And he ended up coming back up again. So he's doing exactly what's being asked for him. And when you see them investing in the squad like that, it's good to see. And reasons for the Norwich fans to be excited, because football is not all about winning like every week. The teams like Norwich, they'll be buzzing to be back in the Premier League. And then when you see genuinely good caliber players coming in, like this Liam Malou fella, who was highly rated in League One, I think it's a great sign for them, a great snap, and I think it'll be well worth looking at throughout the season.
This question's been asked a few times. Guys, there was a question asked about Thursday, something about a place being hired for an announcement. St. George's Hall in Liverpool is a rumour, along with someone's bought a load of fireworks and sent them up the Anfield Road.
Where's this coming from?
I don't know where it came from. It's doing the rounds with regards
to... It's not me.
On where?
No,
doing the rounds on where?
Grizz.
Big announcement. Doing a big announcement.
The rumour going around is that St. George's Hall is being hired out. Liverpool are going to do something.
Where did it start? On WhatsApp or on Twitter?
No, I think it was online. Yeah, somewhere online.
It was on Twitter, wasn't it?
I seen it on Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, so, it's fucking. You may as well be reading a C.S. Lewis novel.
No, I'm just saying, it's come up loads of people have asked. I have to ask the fucking question.
Whenever it was a big announcement, we always hire St. George's Hall, because that's always what happens. When we
it must be in Mbappe, for fuck's sake, because
no, well, I would have thought.
Going to get St. George's Hall. I don't. He probably doesn't need.
I don't think St. George's Hall is being hired out like for
no, that's what they're saying.
A signing. I think it was more some sort of event to do with Liverpool.
Allison's doing the concert that he promised Jamie Webster when we won the league.
Sponsored by Pedigree Chum.
I think the rumours escalated because apparently whoever said that has said the booking has been made by Liverpool Football Club. So that's where the
probably for the kid.
Okay.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know.
They're training a team of Mighty Reds.
It could be anything, but I just thought it'd throw it there because loads of people.
But here, come here, listen. Are we not? We're doing something with the league title, aren't we?
That's what I thought it was.
I'm saying it's that.
Yeah,
that's probably what it is.
That. Yeah, rather than they're hiring out that hall to video a signing or something like that. I thought it was something to do with
FSG are gonna hang Henderson off the front of the building for scouring their name in the media.
Going to wedgie him off the edge of the...
Yeah, going to give him a wedgie in the town hall.
Exactly. But do you know what, Phil? I'm going to come to you. I'm going to let you have the shout on this guy, right? And it's the player that we've chosen with regards to Liverpool. Okay. And the player we've chosen for Liverpool to watch at the weekend, and it's an obvious one, but let's do it. It's Mo Salah. Now I've put his stats up there, right? 95 goals in 125 games, and I think 125 goals all together in 200 games for Liverpool. 170 odd goal involvements, I think is the official stat on it. But look, we all know how good he is, Phil. But I wanted to ask you, can he go better again? Can he actually go and do, like, if you look at 2017-18, 44 goals, 27 goals, 23 goals, 31 goals last season, in a season that was, half of it was, well, I would say 35% of it was horrific for Liverpool. Still done 31 goals in all competitions. Are we looking at the same level, Phil, or can he go again? Could he go 35 to 40 again this season, in your opinion?
I think he breaks 30. I think that the 40 is Salah's biggest problem was he scores 40 plus goals in his first season, and that's a phenomenal problem to have, right? But I think he goes 30 plus this season. The only thing that stops him going 30 plus this season is the stupid fucking African Nations Cup in the middle of the season, right? Because he loses a month.
I think he only misses 2 games.
2 games is all he misses.
But we're talking about all competitions. You've just showed a thing that has all competitions there. So he might do 20 plus in the Premier League, but in terms of if you want to break 30, you need to be more or less there for all the games. And he misses the FA Cup games. He probably misses a League Cup game somewhere as well in January while the African Nations Cup is going on, right? So that's the only thing that stops him doing 30 plus, in my opinion, next season. Like looking at him, or an injury, right? So an injury, obviously, if he's out for any amount of time, that stops him out. But looking at him in the preseason, looking at him today, that ball that Elliott whips down the line and he just takes off, that was Salah of old. And when I say that's a Salah of old, Salah at times looked tired last year and was just delivering goals and goals and goals and goals. Looking at him in this preseason reminds me of when we got him first, and that electric pace, that sort of constant awareness, the killer touch. Well, he took one touch today that just I was just going, wow. Just like that was wow. You know what I mean? Like it's almost as good as having an oven on your balcony. That's how good that first touch was. It was sensational. You know, like it just electrified me in terms of what was there. The ball was over his shoulder, and he just takes it down with the outside of the foot and kills it dead. It was Ronaldinho-esque. That's how good the touch was, and it was just there going, this fella is so up for this season. He was charging in the goalkeepers and everything in the friendly. I'm hoping he does to Norwich what Suarez did all the time, but I want him to score 6 against Norwich this weekend. Right, I want him to do a double hat-trick, a double perfect hat-trick, 2 headers, 2 left foot, 2 right foot. That's what I want out of him, and that's what I expect to be acceptable at the weekend against Norwich.
Okay, 6 goals is acceptable at the weekend.
Plus 2 assists.
Okay, 2 assists. Seany,
I think he's got the look about him, Gav.
Changed his fucking name.
Tells you...
Has he changed his name?
Who? Salah?
Has Grizz changed his name to fucking Seany?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, Seany, hold that talk, Grizz. But Seany, look, he's phenomenal at what he does, and you know when you look at Jota around him, Firmino around him, man, he looked a bit back to himself.
Yeah, he did.
Simple question though. I only put this up for a simple question. Can he go better than 31 last season? In what?
Absolutely, he will go better. I'm nearly sure of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm nearly sure of it. The Salah is so hungry. That's what always comes across. He's selfish in his own right. I know the contracts and incentivives and all, and he wants loads of money. That's the way some people make it out. But when you look at today, the 3 of them just causing havoc, and Mane being back to his very, very best today. At times, he was pulling stuff off, and you're thinking, Jesus, when you have Sadio like that and Mo like that, and then you have Jota fit, like the sky is the limit for this front 3. But Mo just blows me away with his physicality, and like for the fella his size, the stuff he does. You see the one today where he got, and we've seen it so many times, and the ball goes down the line, and the fullback just tries to use his strength and brush him off the ball, and before he knows it, the fullback is picking turf out of his teeth, and Salah is standing the ball up at the byline. He's just so strong and coming inside, bouncing the ball off the likes of a Jota. Look, we don't realise how lucky we are. And one thing that Liverpool fans are guilty of was we write off the players that we have already there. We don't realise how good they are. Like Mohamed Salah is as good an attacker as there's ever been in the Premier League for me. And if you don't believe me, look at his numbers, because they stack up. They stack up at everyone. His worst season in a Premier League season in a Liverpool shirt is, 23 goals? Mm-hmm. That was the year we won the league. We won the league. Like, Salah he's a mental player. He's a psycho. If he went out and banged in 4 against Norwich, you wouldn't know. And he loves the opening day of the season. He loves it. I think he scored twice against Watford. He scored a hat-trick against Leeds last year, and I think he scored twice against Norwich in the first game of the season previous. So he loves opening weekend, and I fancy him to go for the flyer. He's going to win Golden Boot this year, and all the teams can spend 100 million on strikers. They're not as good as a goal scorer as Mo Salah.
Good stuff, Grizz. What were you going to say at that time?
Fuck you now.
What were you going to say?
Well, I was gonna say he's got the look of a guy that knows he's going to spend the next few years at Liverpool. You know what I mean? He's
that's a great point.
Yeah. So at times last season there was doubts, even in our minds, right, lads?
Yeah, 100%.
In our minds, we were like, "Is it his body language? What's the problem? Is he fighting over?"
Look a bit grumpy.
Now he looks like a leader now, Seany.
Yeah,
he knows he's one of the guys that's got to lead this team.
Yeah.
The almost we talk about the rebuild, but you know the new Liverpool too. Like he's going to be there for 3-4 years, and he's going to be the leader of this team. And I agree with everything the rest of you lot have said. He's fucking out this world. He's sensational, sensational. And there goes my
The way he looks after himself
Grizz
as
is
well.
just
Like,
wrecking the place. He don't know what he's done. He's just
he's at the Hulk smashing his desk
He's
there.
at the
'cause
going
Gav
mad
gave him-
Smashing the desk.
because I asked him, did he change his name? There's no need. That's a bit of a overreaction,
You're
Grizz.
gonna do a desk flip now in a minute and just walk off.
Right.
No, but what a player! And look, anyone who was playing fantasy football, it's an unwritten rule like you have to have Mo Salah in your team the first game week.
Yeah, he scored in every pre-season, according to someone in the chat there. City Fisher says he scored in every opening day fixture.
He scored in the opening day of the New Delhi and Thomas Street and all. He's just
Everything.
He's unbelievable. He
He's
is
lethal. Now,
Yes,
right, we've all picked a player
Phil's mate.
to watch. We've
Phil
all picked
loves
a
him.
player to watch this season in the Premier League. And I'm going to pop them up on screen. I'm going to tell you who's picked what. I'm going to pop them up on screen, and I want 30 seconds from each of you as to why to watch this player, because we're an hour and 26 minutes in, right? And if we continue on like this, we'll be 2 hours in before we know it. So, first up, Phil, with a massive, massive shout for a player to watch in the Premier League this season is Alisson Becker.
Yeah.
Talk to me, Phil.
If we're going to win the league, Alisson has to be on top form, and he wasn't on top form last year. And I don't care about anybody else's players in the whole league, right? I only care about our players, and we need him to play a full season, not just not coming in for 75% of the season. And he also needs to score 3 goals this season, because we need him to chip in for goals, because Wijnaldum's gone off. He needs to score Wijnaldum's 3 goals. But in reality, for me, Alisson is the key to everything. The key to everything. We couldn't win a league until he turned up, and it's the player for me to watch. If he's on fire and he's saving 85 to 90% of the shots as he did in his first 2 seasons with us, we win the league again.
Okay.
No question about it. We win the league again.
Good stuff. Some stats up there as well. 100 appearances, 44 clean sheets, 71 wins,
11 losses in 3 years is mental.
Yeah, mental. Seany, you're up next.
14 catches. Fuck off. He's caught a lot more than 14 catches. Like that's a ridiculous shout. That is 14. How did you find a catch?
That's what
He
was
only
given to
caught
me.
14 balls ever, right?
That's what was given to me. He does very little in games. Like, I'm usually on top. Seany,
0 own goals and 1 goal that got us into the Champions League. Think about it like that. That's how important he is to us. The most important player in the team.
Seany, you're up. Are you ready? You have Saïd Benrahma of West Ham, and I've put stats up there when I think I think that's the season where he joins West Ham from Brentford. But those stats on screen: 42 appearances, 17 goals, 9 assists, shots, key passes, dribbles, crosses, and stuff. I think that's what West Ham are looking for out of him. But he's one you think we should keep a big eye on this season.
Yeah, I think that's gonna make a few people's brain fizzy, because he's not a new shiny toy that costs a load of money from another country or coming from Champions League.
40 million.
Yeah, he come from Brentford. I think he comes in the mid. It was weird the way that signing happened, but he ended up there halfway throughout the season, and he was in a team that was performing really well when he got there, because you had Mikel Antonio and Jared Bowen, and obviously Lingard goes in there, but this fella is a real player. We seen at Brentford with him how good he was, and there was talks of Chelsea and the likes being in for him, and it was a bit of a snip for West Ham that he actually went there, because people were thinking he could have went to another level of club. But I think this is going to be a year where he really breaks through, because looking at him, he grew in confidence towards the back end of last season. You could see he was sort of fitting into his role there, where he wasn't kind of the main man, but he is grown into that role now. This is a fella who's going to rip up the Premier League next year, I think, to be honest with you. If David Moyes picks him, which I think he will, because he seemed to have given him a good run in pre-season in the role that Lingard was sort of playing in the number 10, and he can play across the front three. So I really think Benrahma could be one to watch this year. Like, sort of like similar to what Mahrez, it was Mahrez's 4th season at Leicester, but I really do think he's going to come on now, because like a lot of people are saying in the chat there, Brentford don't bring in bums, you know what I mean? This fella is a proper player. They got him from Nice as well, where the same lad where Norwich came from. he's a real talent, and I really do expect him to kick on in the Premier League this year.
Couple giving a shout out for Ivan Toney, the Brentford striker as well, to watch out.
Is Brentford in the Premier League?
Yeah, they're in the Premier League this year, Phil. Brand new stadium as well. A stadium that's a year old, I think, but we'll have fans in it for the first time properly. Come the opening day of the season, I think they're at home. Grizz, Europe, and you have gone for Brian Gill from Gill, same thing. It's a G.
Wait. Why is Phil laughing?
I think he's laughing at my pronunciation of Brian Gill. But it's not. It's Brian Hill.
It's not even a person.
But anyway,
I knew he was going to say that.
He's a winger. He's a winger
he's an
signed
actual
by
player.
Spurs. Am I right? From Ibar. There's a season stats from 2021. 29 games, 49 chances created, 4 goals, 3 assists, 16 shots on target, 796 passes, and he failed once a game, more or less. Talk to me, Grizz.
It's someone I think if I was a scout at Liverpool, I would have loved to have had a look at this player. I rate him that highly on our level. So the fact that he's gone to Spurs hurts me a little bit. But
what age is he?
He's young. I don't know his age.
46 by the look of that head. Look at
21.
Yeah,
he looks like Gary Neville with long hair.
Do you know, he's actually, they call him Cruyff. They call him Baby Cruyff because he looks and plays.
I was going to say, I like the look of him. Like, you know, you wouldn't think. But he's graceful. He's quick. His touch. I read a piece on him by Sid Lowe, and he compared him to Jose Antonio Reyes, the late Jose Antonio Reyes. I see where Sid Lowe was coming from. You know, there's me dissing a fucking professional journalist, right? Talking about a player who's probably watched far more than me. But I find this guy, Jose Antonio Reyes, was about power. This guy's more grace. And that's why the comparison where Seany says some people call him the Spanish Cruyff, did you say, or something?
Yeah, they were calling him Baby Cruyff.
I see more of that because he's actually graceful. He actually goes past players for fun, Gav. I think it's a tremendous signing. I don't know how much Spurs are bought him for. Anyone know? If
it was 25 million and Lamela.
Yeah, it's a deal.
So it was a big deal. Like it was and the likes of Barca and Real would have been snapping him up if they weren't in the state that they were in. So
yeah. I think he's
done a really good job in getting him.
I think he's going to be sensational. Obviously, the turmoil at Spurs with no Kane there, I might not pick him in my dream team now, fantasy league, but this guy is one to watch for me for sure.
Okay.
Do you know what? Similar to the way Elliott is playing in the 8 now, like this fella is that good with the ball. And I mentioned his name weeks ago in the chat when the people Abby was talking about the Spain team going to the Olympics, and I was saying you need to keep an eye on this fella. I think he could actually end up being a number 8 in the same sort of role as a Luka Modric. That's how good he is because he's so good on the ball, so good in possession, never ever gives it away. And the lads were saying there he has a serious left foot on him. Like it's a good sign for Spurs. I think it's probably the best club for him to go to because, look, we all know that if this lad is anywhere near good enough, Levy be flogging him for 60, 70, 80 million down the line.
Yeah.
Looks like you can sniff out a chance around the corner there, Gav. Look at the nose on him.
there's a lot of shouts in there. Baby Stallone, someone called him.
He also looks like a cyclist. He'll blow away in the breeze down in London.
Someone called him Baby Stallone.
In fairness, he managed to finish a game there midway through a stroke, so you have to give him something.
There was a couple of things there.
Can you tell Midnight Toker there is a fantasy league, Gav, for the Trippers? So we'll put that out soon.
Yeah, we'll sort of fancy league. I'm sure I'll get the code and throw it up on there.
I hope they feed him when he goes to Spurs. Seriously.
Well, hopefully they do.
His hands to risk metric is like his hands are skinnier than the lads. He's a cyclist. He's wearing a light blue jersey there and it's baggy on him.
Well, listen, I'm going to go for
Team Ineos are picking him up to replace Chris Froome. That's what they're doing. Like that's where Brian Gill has got the greatest. You've picked an absolute belter there you have, and you're slagging me off at Allison.
Well, listen, I've gone with Ben White at Arsenal, and I haven't done it to watch him because I rate him. I've gone to watch him because I'm genuinely intrigued how he gets on at Arsenal, because I genuinely think Arsenal have signed him for 50 million quid, and is he 21, 20? He's young, and I genuinely believe they're going to throw the whole weight of their defence on this fella. I genuinely believe that. He's very
class.
good. 36 appearances, 11 clean sheets, 49 tackles, 131 recoveries and duels won, 50 passes per match, all that sort of stuff. But I just think, I understand them wanting to go away from Brighton and get a bigger club and look to play whatever European football or whatever it might be, right? But my God, I fear for him a little bit, and that's why I'm interested in how he does this season, because you know the way you say a move can make or break a player. I genuinely think this move could make or break this fella, genuinely, because Arsenal, their history with centre backs and how they get on, and how when things fall apart, everything falls on their centre halves and they get absolutely slaughtered from pillar to post. There's a history to it, and trust me, if it goes bad at Arsenal, he's the £50 million man in the middle of the defence at 20 odd years of age, and they will absolutely annihilate him. And I fear for him a little bit, and that's why I wanted to check out Ben White this season. I think that's it. I think we're nearly done. So yeah, we are. I think that's it. Grizz, anything else before we go?
No, pal. That's good. I'm all good to go.
Yeah. Anything you want to announce or say? Or loads of people are asking, is there any updates on Saul and other, not players mentioned? It was just like any updates on anything.
No, but people
Henderson.
are asking about Henderson.
Yeah.
Well, we already broke it on the Sports Unplugged show on Friday. That
which was
Henderson
great, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought
really
the lads.
enjoyed
I
it.
thought fair play to Connor and Avi.
Yeah.
Different concept. I thought they done very well. You know, they hid their nervous. I know they were nervous, both of them, but brilliant. They were brilliant. Good, fair play to them. But yeah, Henderson's agreed a new deal, so that should be breaking. Hopefully, when we don't sign anyone. So the FSG propaganda train continues, as Phil would say. So instead of announcing players, we're going to announce another contract.
That's kerosene on the fire, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, well, the Henderson thing, the rumour is that he's agreed a 3-year deal, and
it's not rumour, Gav. It's my information.
Oh yeah, your information. Sorry,
it's not on the deal.
But no, I've seen something. Is it Kevin Palmer? He said stuff about Van Dijk and Mo Salah's contracts as well. He said something.
He'll be in my DMs tomorrow.
So they're all signed up, Eddie. That's great.
Yeah. They'll be done as well. Well, Salah isn't done.
Mo, just before we go, what Grizz said about Mo looking happy, that's big for me. He does seem visibly like he knows he's gonna be there now.
Yeah, he's thrown me with the shave of the beard. He's thrown me a bit.
He'll be right back tomorrow, trust me.
Yeah, he is.
Tomorrow.
It's gorgeous.
It's an injury.
2 planes, 2 buses, and an oven. And a hog.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Come here, Seany, anything else before we go?
Just get down to St. George's Hall at 9 o'clock on Thursday for a buffet. Okay. That's all I'm going to say.
No worries.
That's right.
We're playing again tomorrow. Fucking happy days.
Yeah, we are. Phil, anything else before we go?
I'm back on the forum on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
My special topic's going to be about kits, because I love talking about kits.
Yeah, he's going to have a big go at Liverpool and Nike.
Phil Knight is ringing the New York Stock Exchange as we speak, telling them to just take the stocks off for the next Tuesday, because he knows that's going to happen.
Yeah, because
Phil's surprised, Charlotte. I'm actually backing Nike on this one now.
Yeah, I think you're backing Nike, but yeah,
the gear is unbelievable.
Yeah,
this season
we'll see come Tuesday.
See Klopp's jacket today, lads.
Yeah,
see Klopp's jacket.
Love it.
Solid. That's a solid jacket.
This is what's going to drive a conversation on the forum on Tuesday. So it's not my usual Nike or shite, bring back New Balance. This is more. It's the next level on. We have to move on, and people need to move on from transfers. It's the same idea, right?
Well, I think that's about it. There's one more super chat I have to put in here from Billy the Muslim. He says, he says So Salah 30 Premier League goals, Mane 20 goals, Jota 15 goals, Firmino 10 goals, Alisson Golden Glove 20 clean sheets, Liverpool Champions League and Premier League double. Read that bit, Grizz. Inshallah. Oh yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I'm annoyed now I didn't read that out on my own and without looking for help.
Billy the Muslim.
But anyway, Billy the Muslim is confident going into the season. With regards to the rest of the week, because Grizz got all surprised there going, why not Monday? Liverpool are playing tomorrow, so we have got a countdown to kick off before the game, and we have a Red Sea full time after the game. We have a forum on Tuesday. Jamie's away, but we're going to still do a midweek fix on Wednesday. Grizz will be
live from a jacuzzi.
Live from a jacuzzi in Longford. No, he's not. He's off. Grizz is going to be here on Thursday with the transfer stuff and the lads, and a preview, I suppose, of Norwich. And the lads will be back with Sports Unplugged on Friday night. Avi and Connor, and I think there's guests involved there as well this Friday. That is it. That has been the Fatback 4. We are 1 hour and 40 minutes in, so we. Are you serious? Really well. Yeah.
Grizz, I can't see the clock. Is it?
My squirrel is knocking on the door there, telling me he's going to cut off my broadband, so we need to get going quick. You're running down my comments.
Lights out.
That is it. Phil, thanks a million. Grizz, thanks a million. Shawnee, thanks a million. Thanks to everyone for watching and commenting, and on your way out, if you hit the like button, that would be really, really, really appreciated. Okay. That's it. Have a good one. Over and out.